Hello, good day. My name is Justine Pierre. I'm the Director of Research and Business Development at the Canadian firm of Dunn, Pierre, Barnett and Company Canada Limited. In this capacity, I am a human trafficking consultant. Our firm has conducted some of the largest human trafficking studies in the Caribbean region, and I am here to discuss or to highlight some of the challenges or some of a bit of give you an insight on the life of a human trafficker. Our firm, what we do is that we concentrate most of our studies, our resources, our intelligence on the human trafficker. So our goal is to study as much as possible about the human trafficker. So our company places the majority of its resources on studying about the human trafficker, who the human trafficker is, what's the profile of the human trafficker, what do they do, okay, how do they operate the business, who are the victims, how they get the victims, what type of suppliers they have, what are the hierarchy of the organization, what is the business model, etc. We believe that in order to stop human trafficking, you must stop the human trafficker, because there are more of them. There are more victims than there are trafficker. It's cheaper to go after the human trafficker rather than the human trafficking victims. Therefore, our effort is we look at as a research firm, we look at what is called the predatory aspect of human trafficking. Our research is concentrated on the predator, on the human trafficker. So, just as to stop terrorism, you focus on the terrorists. You do not go after the victims of terrorism. Or to stop narcotics, you focus on the drug dealers. You do not go after the victims of drugs. Or therefore, in order to stop human trafficking, you have to focus on the trafficker. It's a little different to what other organizations. Most organizations, they focus on what is called the victim-centered approach. What we focus on is going after the trafficker, learning as much as possible about the trafficker. So now, what do we know about the trafficker? So we know that human trafficking is a family business. It's a people business. You must have people to operate a human trafficker. All human traffickers operate on the internet and social media. Most of them sell the trade online. There is always a dedicated website. Every human trafficker we know for has a cell phone or an email address. Therefore, to solve the problem, you have to go where they conduct the business and try to disrupt it. So in summary, a human trafficker is considered a family business. Some human traffickers and smugglers are also victims. So that's why it's important to understand who you're dealing with. We also know that most human traffickers does not believe that they are human traffickers. They must be told that they are human traffickers. Most traffickers or human traffickers have no criminal record, nor they have never been arrested. Most of them have never been arrested. The main modus operandi, mode of transportation of a human trafficker is either via sea or via land. Human trafficking is a male-dominated industry. However, there is always a woman or women involved in this practice. Most human traffickers obtain the victims by promise of employment, love, and prospects of a better life. Also, most victims have developed a sexual bond towards their trafficker. So our intelligence and our database is concentrated on gathering data on the internet activities and trying to disrupt the operation with the assistance of law enforcement. So this is basically what we do. So we offer courses to law enforcement, to trading out, to human trafficking organizations, non-profit, on what is called disruptive management techniques in human trafficking. There are 9 ways to disrupt the human trafficking business, and we teach that model of trying to disrupt them. As I said, our efforts is concentrated on the human trafficker, not necessarily the victims. So we teach persons how to go after that, how to disrupt the human trafficking business. So the war, remember that the war is on the internet. So in the Caribbean, there are about 17 major websites, okay, where someone can purchase human trafficking services. Also, we remember that there are more victims than there are traffickers. So, for example, from our research, we have developed what is called a victim to trafficker ratio, and that victim to trafficker ratio is about 30 to 2. So, for example, just roughly speaking, for every 1,000 victims of human trafficking, there is about 63 persons that are working within that human trafficking cycle. And remember, in the Caribbean region, the human trafficking industry is about 175,000 people. So it's a very large, very sophisticated industry. It has about, it's about $17 billion per year. It's very, very lucrative. It's fast cash, fast, quick money, and the interesting thing about the human trafficking industry in the Caribbean region is that you seldom get caught because the apprehension rate is very, very, very low. So you also remember that most of the human trafficking, or the trafficking industry in the Caribbean region is concentrated first around drugs, arms, labor, and sex. So now let's look at from our data, or we have analyzed about 198 million data sets on arrests and investigations of human in the Caribbean, in the Latin America and the Caribbean. And let's look at what is a typical profile of someone who use the services of a human trafficker, or that person is a buyer of sex, or that person could be a predator or of young one. But you just remember that the Caribbean has one of the highest concentration of rapists in the world. In fact, 31 of the top countries that have the highest percentage of rapists and violence against women, 15 of those countries are in the Caribbean region. So I mean, people have to understand that the Caribbean is a very violent place. I mean, from its history of slavery with British oppression, colonialism, a lot of the characteristics, the violent characteristics, was handed down from their British into the descendants of the person who lived in the region. So from the British and the French and the Spanish who dominate those regions, the practice of violence against women, of violence against other people, is also displayed in human trafficking. So let's now look at the demography, the demographic profile of a sexual predator or a buyer of sex in the region. So generally, someone who comes into the Caribbean from our data, that person tend to be a white male, ages between 45 and 70. The person, for example, from our interview with them, the person either own real estate or have middle to high income. From our research, we found that some of these persons are heavy spenders when they come into the territories. They're heavy spenders. If the person is a white male, they will normally come from either the countries of the USA, Europe, Netherlands, Italy, France, Spain, United Kingdom, and to a lesser extent Canada. These persons, predators, the most of them, some of them are family oriented. And we found out from our interview with them, we found out that about 37% of them are married. They generally come for short visits in the region, no longer than 3 to 4 days. How they visit the region, so they normally visit the region generally between Wednesdays and Fridays, and most time they leave the region about normally between Sundays and Mondays. Most likely on a Sunday they will leave the region. What we found out from our study, the arrangements are made in advance of the encounter. So someone in the region or someone would plan their rendezvous, would plan the visit, will get the young girls, or they would plan in advance. So when they come just for a short visit, maybe 2-3 days, do what they have to do with these young women and leave their country. Okay, what from our data, we realized that the victims enter the country mainly by sea. These predators conduct the activities in private homes or Airbnb or on yachts, on boats. Some have private homes in the country, we found out. They are mainly businessmen or professionals. They tend to be retired persons sometimes. And what it's important is that the predatory aspect of what they do, it's ethnic specific, meaning that these predators have specific ethnic preference. Some of them love different types of women, different culture, maybe young. Some of them love them young, and they want a specific type of features they look for. So the traffickers have to now look for these features for these buyers, and you can pay sometimes. We interviewed one of them. It could be up to 20,000, 30,000, sometimes 40,000 to spend a weekend. And as I said, it's big business. So in conclusion, human trafficking is a serious problem in the Caribbean region. It is driven by poverty, lack of education and employment opportunities, and corruption. It has devastating effect on the victims as well as the economies in the country in which it takes place. However, despite this, there have been several initiatives taken to combat human trafficking in the region. Okay, we also have to thank the United States for its effort in fighting human trafficking. The government of Canada, there are British High Commission and other agencies. Thank you.